Maintaining a balance in your life might be difficult, especially if you have a full-time job, just like I do. So I work from morning to the evening, basically from 8:30. But then I also have to go to work by car, so it takes me about 20-25 minutes, even 30 minutes sometimes, depending on the traffic. So from 8 a.m. to 5:30 or 6 p.m. I'm definitely busy with work and thinking about basically just work. Even when I have a break for lunch, I am still in the company with my colleagues. I go to the canteen, which belongs to the company, and I just have 1 hour to have lunch and rest with my mind a little bit. But it's difficult, of course, to be able to do something else or even think about something else during those work hours. So you can expect that when you go back home, it's difficult to do something else because you're tired. And if you have a family, for example, if you want to go to the gym, or you also have other passions, just like me, for example, for mathematics, physics, or these scientific contents, well, you must be aware that your time is limited and you have to make certain choices. So sometimes your passions have to wait if you want to make videos or if you just want to study. If you want to study some mathematical books or scientific books in general, you need to make time for yourself. You need to have a schedule, because otherwise it's impossible or almost impossible to improvise and do things on the spur of the moment. You have your own responsibilities, because if you live alone, just like I do, I live with my girlfriend, we need to go to the supermarket, we need to think about the house, and then my girlfriend has different kinds of passions or interests. They are not like mine. She doesn't care about scientific stuff, you know what I mean? So sometimes, especially if I'm with her, it's difficult to make some time for myself and study those subjects or prepare new contents, for example, for my YouTube channel or Instagram. And I basically do it as a hobby. So I don't have really any responsibility for that. I don't really have any obligations to keep posting contents, but I like doing that simply because it makes me feel more quote-unquote alive. It's my passion, so I do it as a hobby, no moral obligations whatsoever. And you might wonder why stay with a girlfriend in this case, or with other people who don't share the same interests as you. Well, first of all, I would say that it's difficult to stay with people who have exactly the same interests as you, especially if these are particular, specific, let's say, interests like mine for subjects like mathematics and physics. And also remember that I am an engineer after all, so I have never been in an environment where people speak about these subjects as a hobby. You might see such people if you, for example, study mathematics or physics. But I don't have that kind of experience, so I don't even know if that's the case. I think that's the case because if you study mathematics and physics, chances are that you're doing that as a hobby, for passion. It's not always the case, because I have also witnessed some students who study mathematics and physics, but they are not as passionate as I am, for example, for these subjects. So it really depends on the specific cases. And at the end of the day, you also have to keep in mind that you don't stay with a person just because of her or his interests. So you're staying with the person not just based on the IQ, so the intelligence of the person, quote-unquote intelligence, whatever that might be, because it's not so easy to define intelligence. You don't judge a fish based upon its ability to climb up a tree, right? That's what Einstein would say. So it depends really on the environment you live in. So in some kind of environment you might seem intelligent. In other kinds of environments you might seem even stupid. Maybe, it depends. So it's very difficult to speak about intelligence, and I'm not the right person to do that. But another important thing to say, in my opinion, is, well, I need to highlight also the emotional aspect, or maybe more related to sensitivity, I should say. I don't know how to express this in words. It's difficult, but on one side you have knowledge, let's say. So this person might be knowledgeable, they might be experts at doing something, but apart from intelligence, I deem it necessary to also stay with people who are sensitive, who have emotions, irrespective of their knowledge in certain subjects. For example, I am with my girlfriend because she is very sensitive, she is a very sensitive human being, and I like her character. She's different from me because she doesn't like these subjects. She is not interested in science in general. But she's very sensitive. She's capable of understanding another person's emotions. And I deem this a very important part in your life. You should stay with people who have emotions because you can develop yourself as a person. You are capable of sympathizing with other people, understand where they come from based upon the environment they lived in. I believe this is exceptionally important, at least as much as the knowledge you have, or even more than that. At the same time, where you are in a relationship with another person or other people, I think that there must be some kind of overlap between your interests and also the interests of the other people or the other person. Because without an overlap, it's difficult to maintain the relationship because you don't have any topic to discuss sometimes. So maybe you will not find that overlap, for example, in science, but I think that it is necessary to have an overlap somewhere else, because otherwise chances are that relationship won't last that long. Another important aspect in your life that you need to keep control over is your health, in my opinion. This is another thing that I want to mention in this video, because if you're not healthy, it's difficult for you to think clearly, be able to maintain relationships, and this is a complicated topic that I will not be able to express too clearly in this video because there are many nuances that it's difficult to convey in just a short video like this one. But I have been through some periods in my life where I could not control my mental health because, for example, I didn't eat properly, I didn't train properly. I also deem physical exercise very important because of the chemical reactions that occur in your body when you're doing some physical activity. And by the way, this is also another very broad topic. Sometimes if you train too much, for example, you might let your body produce too much cortisol. And a chronic production of cortisol is detrimental to your health, but only if chronic, because sometimes cortisol might be beneficial. For example, when you wake up, it's normal to have a lower amount of cortisol, so you might feel tired, but when cortisol spikes, then it's where you feel awake, you feel ready to go, ready to start the day. So it's just an oversimplification, but just to let you understand that things can be bad or good depending on the context, depending on several other factors. So you have to keep a balance in general. There is some kind of balance to be maintained. And it's not easy, it's not too easy. You need to develop the right habits and possibly get rid of bad habits, quote unquote bad habits. But anyway, the point here is for me to stress the importance of eating properly, doing physical activity in such a way that your brain can perform well. Because if you're not healthy, it is very likely for you not to be able to maximize your potential. There might be moments in your life where you cannot really keep control over all the aspects of your life. Sometimes life can be very difficult. There might be events that are so stressful that you might feel the urge of giving in. On the other hand, in my opinion, you should develop the way of thinking, and you need to surround yourself with those people in such a way that all of this will reduce the probability of surrendering, of giving up. I know it might sound easier said than done, but this is what really I feel like saying from within. And of course, words will never be enough. You have to put your words into action, but in my opinion, it's also very important to stress the right thinking pattern might alleviate your suffering and might help you in these kind of situations.